Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. And what I want to talk to you about today is one of the most versatile pieces of winter military surplus or surplus style kit that you can carry. And that is the wool scarf. And that is exactly what I have on my head right now, wearing it as just a normal toboggan on my head or a wool cap over my head is a military scarf. And I'm going to show you how to make this configuration as well as a few other options for this versatile piece of kit today. Stay with me, guys. Now, there's a couple different scarves out there that you can get. The one that we carry on our website is this one, and I'll show you the label here. It is a made in the USA 100% wool scarf. And it is a tubular design made of wool, but the tube is sewn up on both ends. In other words, it's not a hollow tube. It's sewn at the ends, and then it's hollow in between and sewn at the other end as well. There's certain advantages and disadvantages to that. The one thing I find about this scarf, and it comes in OD green and black, is this is a very soft wool. It almost has zero itch whatsoever to this wool. Now, the other type of military scarf you can get is the military stock number US issue wool scarf. And it is a tube, but it's not sewn on the ends. So it's just a hollow tube that goes through. And that lends itself to a few advantages as well. I don't think this scarf is as thick a wool as the other scarf is. It's definitely not as non-itch as the other scarf is. So it has disadvantages as well. All right, so Ben's Backwoods did a video on these scarves about 4 years ago, and I don't want to cover too much of what he covered in that video because I think it was a pretty comprehensive video on how to wear a scarf pretty much as a scarf. And I think that, understanding that something around your head and neck, over your head and around your neck is good for either trapping or releasing body heat. So you can thermoregulate with this stuff really, really well. And you have a lot of heat that escapes through your head and neck because obviously heat rises and you're standing up. So heat going up through your head and neck area is a factor that you have to think about in winter weather. And also trapping heat in those locations is something you need to think about in winter weather. And he covered that really well in the video, I thought. One of the things he talked about that I think is really important to understand in case you haven't seen that video is that when you wrap this scarf around your neck, if you wrap these flaps over and you widen them out like this underneath your most outer layer or underneath an inner layer, under an anorak, they act as a secondary or a tertiary layer that traps heat from your core as well. And he talked about more saying that carrying a scarf like this was almost like carrying an extra sweater with less weight and more versatility. And I would agree with that 100%. So this is one thing that's really important to understand about how you wear a scarf around your neck if you're trying to trap a lot of heat, is to do something like this. Now, beyond that, I found lots of uses for these military scarves, and that's what I want to cover in this video today. So the first one is, obviously this is a tube that's sewn up on both ends, but you can turn it inside itself and create a half tube. You're not going to get a full length tube like you would with a military scarf that's not sewn on either end, but you can create a half tube. And that half tube is going to be this long. And you don't need to necessarily create a half a tube even to get a lot of use out of the scarf to make it versatile as head and neck wear. And we're going to talk about that first. So I'm going to reposition the camera here real quick and show you how to, the easiest way to turn this kind of inside out on itself and show you how to make a hat scarf combination out of it, as well as a full face mask. So the easiest way to turn this thing a little bit inside out is to choke up on it a little bit like this, so that you've got those ears hanging out right there. And then kind of grab that and push that to the inside and kind of pull it over the top of your arm like this. So stick your hand inside it and just kind of rotate it around and pull it up around your arm and keep pushing your way down inside there while you're pulling it up over your arm, just like this. And you don't have to have a very big pocket in here at all to create something that you can use for a hat. I've probably got 8 inches of this choked up on now, and I'll just kind of neaten that up a little bit, just like that. And now I can take this and I can use this for a hat, scarf, and face mask. So now that I have that, I can take this thing and put it straight over my head, just like this. And it becomes a toboggan of sorts. Now, if I want to, I can take the tail of this and I can just tuck it down inside my jacket. Or I can take it around now like this, all the way around my face, pull it pretty tight and tuck it inside on the bottom just like this. Pull my jacket up around it, adjust things as needed. And I have a full face mask that I can wear the hood of my jacket over the top of. I can still thermoregulate by pulling that thing down around my face if I want to, or I can lift it up if I'm sitting still, if I'm on a four-wheeler or something like that and I want full coverage. I can cinch my hood down around it and give myself a lot of coverage that way, okay? So that's one really good way of using this that wasn't covered in that video that I'm really fond of. Now, the other thing you can do, if you don't need the whole face mask thing and you just want the hat, you can take a little bit more of a tuck inside this thing, give yourself, almost go half of it. Take that thing and push it all the way down to the bottom. What this is gonna do is it's gonna give you a double layer right there, all the way down. Just kind of push it up, pull it up over your arm and neaten things up. Now you have a full pocket there. That full pocket lends itself to a lot of things, all right? You've got half of that made into a pocket. Now you can take that and put that over your head. Now you've got a double layer on your head, and you've got 4 layers around your ears, and you've got a large pocket back here in the back. And you can take this and basically just roll it up, roll it the other way, and tuck it inside this just like this. Pull everything down around your ears. And now you have just a toboggan, but you have 4 layers of wool. You have 2 layers of wool on your head, 4 layers on your ears, and you have just a straight toboggan now. That works really, really well, or toque, whatever you choose to call it. A wool hat that's got lots of layers of insulation to keep your head warm. I love wearing this hat, like wearing a scarf in this configuration, a lot of times just running around camp, because it works really well. Now, while you've got that in a half tube, let's talk about some of the other versatilities of this. Now you've got this half tube that you can actually stuff with material, or a jacket, maybe your whoopee, something like that, and create a pillow that's long enough that when you lay in it, it kind of goes up around your head. So you've got warmth there that you wouldn't have in just a small camp pillow. And you can create a really nice pillow with that. And like I said, this particular scarf has hardly any itch whatsoever to it. So it makes a very, very comfortable pillow. Now, the other thing you can do with this, when you've got it in a tube like this, is if you've warmed up a water bottle with hot water to put against your core, put down at your feet or something to keep them warm at night, you can drop that water bottle down inside that tube, just like this, and roll that tube up around it. And you can actually fold it over the top, just like this, and tuck that thing right down inside your core, right down the bottom of your sleeping bag to keep your feet warm. And this insulates the bottle, but it also protects you from getting that hot metal against your skin. So that's a really good use for this as well. I would recommend carrying a couple of these most of the time in my kit in the wintertime, so that you have that multi-functionality. You're not forced to use it for one thing or another, but you can use it for a multi-functional item. Okay, so we talked about the non-military issue 100% wool scarf. Now let's talk about this military issue scarf and a couple things that you might be able to do with this that are not as easily accomplished with the scarf that's sewn up on the ends. Obviously, if you have a hollow tube, you have some advantages because the entire length of this tube is hollow and it's open on both ends. So I can use this actually as a gun sleeve for my shotgun, coming and going, and it's plenty long enough to go over a full-size gun, and you can just tie it off at the ends if you wanted to, and you've got a gun sock. The other thing about this, both of these are about the same length. They're about 54 to 56 inches in length. So they're plenty long that they can also go around your waist. So you could use either one of these as an outerwear piece that you're tying down a piece of outerwear or something that you may be getting wind underneath of. And Ben talked about that in the Ben's Backwoods video on these scarves as well. He spoke to that, tying it around your waist, around an anorak or something like that to keep the wind from coming up through. But the other advantage that you have with the hollow tube one is that it also can become a sling pack where you could put it around your waist and put items inside this tube, and it becomes almost a butt pack at that point as well. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you joining me here today for this video on the versatility of the military style wool scarf. Again, I would encourage you to go watch Ben Backwood's video on it as well. He's got a video that talks about a couple of things that I didn't talk about in this video. I didn't want to overlap his stuff too much. I want to talk about some further functions that I've discovered over time and that I've used in a wintertime environment as well. But it's one of my favorite pieces of kit for its sheer versatility. And carrying a couple of them doesn't take up much room, doesn't hurt anything either, because then you can combine them to do multiple things if you want to as well. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.